A nurse has come forward and said, I witnessed the infanticide. Ralph Northam defended.
Wow.
And we all know who Ralph Northam is.
Mr. Blackface.
Or is he? We will never know.
Or the Klansman. So if you don't know a little backstory, Ralph Northam is the governor of Virginia. And he was recently had a controversy, a few different controversies. One of them being he wore either blackface or a Klansman outfit and a college yearbook. And also he's known more in the I guess you could call it the anti-abortion community as the governor who made the statement when a baby's born with issues.
That late-term abortion should be acceptable.
Yeah, we keep them comfortable. We keep the baby comfortable. So when the baby comes out of the mother, born with issues, we keep the baby comfortable until the mother decides what she wants to do. Essentially, infanticide. So I always thought that was just a story that a politician was telling. So apparently there's a nurse who witnessed this comfortable situation. So Janelle has this story.
Jill Stanek is her name. Now, just a reminder that this is the quote from the governor just a few months ago. If a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. Now, there was a very long, extended interview about late-term abortions with the governor of Virginia. And he said much more than that, but that is to give you a little bit of a backstory that connects to why Nurse Jill Stanek came forward and said what she did. And this is essentially what she said. First of all, there was a spokeswoman that actually accused conservatives of twisting the words of Ralph Northam. They tried to say that, no woman that seeks a third trimester abortion except in the case of tragic or difficult circumstances, such as a nonviable pregnancy or in the event of severe fetal abnormalities. And the governor's comments were limited to the actions physicians would take in the event that a woman in those circumstances went into labor. So she essentially was saying that conservatives, you're just making it sound like that a woman can just come in off the street, get a late-term abortion, and that it's all great, and that there's no stipulations, and that there's no special cases, the like. But OBGYN Kathy Altman, who is a former medical director, I want to repeat that, a former medical director at a Planned Parenthood abortion clinic, testified that Nurse Julie Wilkinson, who assisted an abortionist with late-term abortions, told her that the vast majority of abortions that they performed were done for convenience, not for fetal anomalies or maternal health problems, which we all knew.
Yeah.
That was what was going on with that. But I want to read this part to you, and I want you to think about what I'm reading. This is part of the testimony that came from Nurse Jill Stanek. I was a registered nurse at Christ Hospital in Illinois when I learned it committed abortions into the second and third trimesters. The procedure, called induced labor abortion, sometimes resulted in babies being aborted alive. In the event a baby was aborted alive, he or she received no medical assessments or care, but was only given what my hospital called comfort care, or AKA made comfortable, just like Governor Northam indicated. One night, a nursing coworker was transporting a baby who had been aborted because he had Down syndrome to our soiled utility room to die, because that's where survivors were taken.
Oh, wow.
I could not bear the thought of this suffering child dying alone, so I rocked him for the 45 minutes that he lived. He was 21 to 22 weeks old, weighed about a half a pound, and was about the size of my hand. He was too weak to move very much, expending all his energy attempting to breathe. Toward the end, he was so quiet I couldn't tell if he was still alive unless I held him up to the light to see if his heart was still beating through his chest wall. After he was pronounced dead, I folded his little arms across his chest, wrapped him in a tiny shroud, and carried him to the hospital morgue where we took all our dead patients. Christ Hospital readily admitted babies were survived abortions.
Hospital.
A spokesman told the Chicago Sun-Times between 10% and 20% of aborted babies survive for short periods. Some of them often, most of them, not some of them, a lot of them often live for an hour or two.
Wow.
One actually survived as long as 8 hours. They perished because they did not receive the care they could have received that would have saved their lives. This was a small, now mind you, some of the comfort care that some of these hospitals are referring to. Mind you, there was a story that just recently came out that talked about an abortion, a very known abortion doctor that provided what I'm getting ready to describe to you for parents or parent of an aborted child. A comfort room. This was a small, nicely decorated room complete with a first photo machine in case parents wanted pictures of their aborted babies.
Oh my gosh.
Baptismal supplies
What?
if parents wanted their aborted babies baptized.
Oh my gosh.
And a foot printer and a baby bracelet if parents wanted
What?
keepsakes of their aborted babies. There was also a wooden rocker to rock their babies to death.
That's insane.
She actually submitted photos of the comfort room with her testimony.
We'll
Nurse
try
Jill
to, we'll try to
Stanek.
find those, and if
Yeah.
we can find those, we'll try to get them overlaid. Now, you said this was in Illinois, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this would be the same state that Barack Obama had a hand in this then, because during his time as senator, a state senator in Illinois, one of his famous bills that he voted for was the Born Alive bill. If a baby comes out born alive, let it die. And that's the bill that he signed, where if in Illinois, if you have a baby and it's born alive, you can let it die.
Yep.
So Barack Obama's fingerprints are on that. Your Messiah. And I'm sure there are more black and brown babies being left out to die
Oh yeah.
than any other race.
Oh yeah.
Just simply, that's barbaric. That's crazy.
And I think it's important that we read things like this, and I think it's important that we talk about things like this. I cannot tell you how many Christians have gotten angry with me for posting photos of an aborted fetus, who have gotten angry because I have described what an abortion pill or what an abortion procedure looks like, or using the word dismemberment. We don't want to talk about what is actually taking place with the innocent citizens of this nation, because if we look at it, then we may actually be responsible for it. You guys know I say this all the time. People are afraid to look at what they think they can't handle, because if they look at it, it means that they've seen too much. And if you've seen too much, it is now going to bear down on your conscience. What will you do? Will you be silent, or will you actually speak up for people that are innocent in this case, which are babies?
I don't think you get over that. I don't think you take your kid into your dying child in some room and you sit there with it for an hour and you take a picture with it and you take a little footprint of it and you enjoy those first few moments that I remember vividly of our children. And you have that moment for a couple of hours and then it passes away and then you move on. That's just, I don't see how you get over that. Yeah. I don't see how that doesn't do something to you that follows you for the rest of your life.
And it absolutely does. And I think that that's a big part of what organizations like Planned Parenthood refuse to talk about. Because I can't tell you how many stories that they aren't talking about where young women, have committed suicide. There's young women that have been haunted by their decisions. I can tell you this, just about every other woman who had an abortion or even multiple abortions in their lives that came into a place of grace, that entered into a personal relationship with Jesus Christ and watched the Lord come in and deal with their past, every last one of those women were haunted by their decision. There was an interview that was done of a middle-aged black woman. I forgot what city it was done. I will never forget the way that she described it or the look on her face when she talked about how many abortions that she'd had and how naive she was. And she said, she put her hand on her stomach and she said, I will never be able to have children because I murdered all of them, is what she said. And the people that were standing in the street listening to her really didn't know how to react to that. My gosh, the interviewer didn't even know how to react to that. And she said, please listen when someone's trying to help you. And she said, I will have nobody to carry on my name. I have nothing. And she said, because I did it. She didn't point her finger at the nearest man. She didn't bring up the child's father and say, well, he did it. She literally took responsibility on a public street and used the word murder when it came to describing her own choice of what she decided to do with her children, which I believe is one of the bravest things that a person could possibly do. But again, we don't want to talk about this because it's real. Wonder if we have to take responsibility for this. Wonder if we have to actually speak up and say something. Wonder if I lose my friends. Wonder if my family stops talking to me. Well, wonder if millions of more children continue to be aborted because we just want to sit back and be able to have a barbecue with Bob and Carol down the street. You guys are familiar with Bob and Carol down the street. I'm always talking about them. The other story that we have is there is a very bizarre lawsuit that is happening between an Austrian doctor and the FDA here in the United States. I actually had to read this story a couple of times to understand what the heck was even going on. And essentially, the gist of this story is there is an Austrian doctor. Her name is Rebecca Gompert, I believe is her name.
Oh, and she's becoming a celebrity on the left. They love her.
Of course. If you are, again, if you're interested in lawlessness of any kind, if you're interested in any act of debauchery
or death,
you
lawlessness
are in.
or death.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Absolutely. Or if you hate Trump. So this lawsuit is over the abortion pill. And essentially what this Austrian doctor is mad about is she is claiming that the FDA is blocking her ability to get abortion pills to women in America through the mail. And so what's happening is that in March, and I'm trying to see, okay, yeah, this is a recent story. This is from CNA. In March, the FDA issued a cease and desist to aid access. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's probably who she is, who this young woman is, the Austrian doctor who is connected with.
And you also, something else to notice too, everything these people do, then they name them the opposite of what things are.
Yeah.
Like it's called aid access when literally these are pills of death. There is no aid in these boxes. These boxes contain death.
Pretty much.
So
Pretty
death
much.
access.
They issued a cease and desist to aid access, ordering the group to stop prescribing and mailing the drugs to patients in the United States because they were unregulated. I would also like to bring up that had these pills been regulated, the FDA would be totally cool with this. We always know what it's about with the FDA. I mean, they're still going out in open fields and pouring out goat's milk.
Yeah.
From
really
farmers
what it's about,
because it's not regulated.
Really what it's about is Pfizer didn't have their hand in it.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
if Bayer would have had their hand in it, they'd have been like,
no problem.
There you go.
Yeah.
We're getting it.
No problem at all. And so, let's see. Monday, Gompertz through attorney Richard Hearn filed a civil action lawsuit, I believe in the state of Idaho, is where she actually filed it, which is also bizarre. Dr. Tara Sander Lee, she's a senior fellow and director of life sciences with a pro-life research group. And she's actually calling this entire lawsuit ludicrous, and went on to say that abortion pills from Aid Access have been shown to be damaged and contaminated. And these tainted drugs have caused serious and sometimes even fatal bacterial infections and excessive bleeding in women. Now, mind you, one of the things that I've also noticed in this nation right now is that any protections that conservatives stand up and actually try to present to mothers who are seeking abortions, we're not talking about, protecting women who are having abortions. We're talking about protecting the health of a mother who may attempt to receive an abortion and something go wrong. Just about every single time these protections have tried to be put in place, the left has completely took a sledgehammer to them and said that this is conservatives' way of trying to come in and stop you from getting an abortion. Literally not caring if it's a doctor, if it's a certified, board certified OBGYN, board certified gynecologist who is doing the abortion. They don't care about any of that kind of stuff. Nothing to do about actually protecting women.
I don't remember what story that was, but they were trying to make it to where, this is a few years ago, where it wasn't even a licensed person to do the abortions. This was like going to be like a regular, like a midwife.
Yeah.
Just essentially someone who went to a class at the Y.
Yeah.
And just,
it just amazes me because they're constantly talking about, this is about women's rights and this is about being able to protect women's rights. Why would you not want to protect then the health of the mother? If you want to get an abortion, cool. But I'm not going to sit here and hope that you bleed out in your home or on the side of a street because you got a hold of a pill that was contaminated with something that it shouldn't have been contaminated with. I'm not going to hope that for you. I'm going to hope that, that you live and get the help that you need. Not only that, but that you're going to find the kind of grace that you need in order to move into, all that God has for you, obviously. But the case with this, it is fully within the FDA's jurisdiction to protect women from harm and prevent these dangerous abortion pills from getting into the hands of any more women. That's what Lee said. Now, the healthcare provider must inform patients about the serious risk associated with use of the medications and sign a waiver certifying the patient has access to emergency care or surgical abortion in case of complication. Now, that's a normal practice in just about every state.
Yeah.
I'd say most abortions have to be overseen by by a board certified doctor. They have to be overseen by someone. Not only that, but people have to know that you even had an abortion in order to, get your follow up and all that stuff to know that you're okay, because they do go wrong sometimes. Which is why there should be, I believe, even more protections, in place for things like that. Okay, this is a super long article, so we're going to keep moving through this. So one of the things that was interesting to me about this is that as of December 31st, 2018, there were reports of 24 deaths of women associated with RU486 since the product was approved in September of 2000, including 2 cases of ectopic pregnancy resulting in death and several cases of severe systemic infection, which is sepsis, including some that were fatal. To date, the report documents nearly 4,200 reported adverse effects, including hospitalization and other serious complications. So essentially what this doctor is upset about is that she's not going to get to prescribe pills, okay, to her, I don't even know if we can call them her patients, her clients in the United States that are not regulated by the FDA, but they could be contaminated. Now, the 2 pills, by the way, one of them is called mifepristone, and the other one is called misoprostol. And one of the pills, generally when you have an abortion with an abortion pill, The first one that you take is mifepristone, and what it does is that it stops progesterone from accumulating in your body, which is a very, it's a needed hormone to help facilitate a pregnancy. So it shuts that off. And then the next pill that you take is the misoprostol, and that essentially empties your uterus of the contents that's inside. And so these are the two pills that have been used for a while now to help women be able to get abortions through a pill. So these are the two. These are the two pills that this doctor is fighting to be able to have mailed to women in the United States that are not FDA regulated, and that's the United States. This is not about her country or wherever she's at. This is about mailing people, mailing something in the mail to a woman, and she could take it and possibly, see, pretty horrible side effects as a result of it.
And also something to keep in mind too is that this isn't for California, this isn't for Illinois, this isn't for New York. This is for Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. This is for Texas. Mm-hmm. This is for Mississippi. This is for all the states that passed a whole raft of anti-abortion bills the past few years to the point where there are only a handful of abortion clinics in Texas. Mm-hmm. I think there's like one or two. Mm-hmm. There's only like one. There's two in Oklahoma, right? There's only two.
I believe there's two.
One in Tulsa, one in Oklahoma City, and some of these other states. So what the left is doing is they're doing these mail things because
it's easier access.
They want people to still have access to abortion. I know that they did a thing in Austin where now the city, people were having to travel across the state because there's only like one or two abortion clinics in the state of Texas.
And they're mainly in the north and the south.
Yeah.
They're in Corpus Christi area and then the Dallas area.
People were having to drive to the abortion clinic in Austin. Mm-hmm. So you had these people coming and they couldn't afford to stay anywhere, so they were sleeping in their cars. So what the city's going to do is the city's going to pay for them a hotel and pay for them to eat and all kind of other stuff so they can come to Austin and have an abortion.
Wow.
So that's what's going on in Austin right now.
I'm sure
I think it was
citizens of that city and their tax dollars are happy about that.
They're very proud, and they better hope Greg Abbott doesn't see that headline, because I know I saw it. They better hope Greg Abbott didn't see it, because he's going to spring into action.
I would assume so. My just final thoughts on this is, don't be afraid to look at abortion and all of the lives that are affected by it. This is not about looking at a woman and trying to condemn a woman because she made a bad decision. You guys are aware of my heart when it comes to the pro-choice community, because it's not just about one soul, it's about two people that we're trying to pull into life, essentially. But I think it's important that we look really, really hard at all of the lives being affected by abortion. And I think it's important that we're paying attention to all of the practices that are still happening to ensure that abortion continues. I think it's important to pay attention that the pro-choice community really prides themselves on the protection of women. But that's not what I read when I come across this is just one story, you guys. I come across plenty of stories. And I'm not hearing there being a true place, okay, in the hearts of doctors, in the hearts of people that are leading the charge in the pro-choice community. I'm not hearing a lot of compassion when it comes to the mother of this child and her being protected. If she has the right, then her being protected. You would think that if you were trying to protect the right, that you would try to protect the mother at the same time. And I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing the protection of the mother's life. I'm just seeing her rights protected. I'm seeing her right to take another life being protected, but I'm not seeing a lot of protection for the mother. And so if you're in the pro-choice community, I think it's important that you pay attention to that. And I think it's important that you pay attention to those in your community that are leading the charge on this. Pay attention to that and start to ask yourself, why are they so set on me having my right, but not set on me having protections in my rights? So that's what we have right now today. We're going to continue to talk about this. We're going to continue to bring you stories about what is happening in this current war of pro-life versus pro-choice, life versus death in the United States of America. But we would love to hear your opinion on this too, and continue to pray for the unborn. Continue to pray that God would open new doors in this nation to see life enter in. So, all right, guys, we're going to wrap it up.
All right.
You
Till
guys
next
take
time.
care.